An important event of the civil rights movement is the March on Washington. This is the event in which Martin Luther King Jr. stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech to hundreds of thousands of onlookers, many African Americans and many whites as well. People involved in this event were Martin Luther King Jr. He was the main speaker of the day. He was speaking about equality between African Americans and white people and how that was a necessity at this time. President Kennedy was the president at the time, and it was his job to push civil rights legislation through Congress. His work ends up being the Civil Rights Act of 1964. A. Philip Randolph was one of the organizers of the march. He was an African American leader, and he worked with the NAACP to ensure equality for African Americans and other people of color. The NAACP stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. John Lewis was a very young man at the time. He is, in 2014, a senator of the United States. He is an African American. He was one of the influential people in organizing the Freedom Rides, and he was present at the March on Washington. Bob Dylan performed a song at the March on Washington supporting desegregation and the integration of public facilities. Malcolm X would have been a person who did not approve of the March on Washington. He was African American, but unlike Martin Luther King Jr., who advocated for non-violent protests such as sit-ins, marches, and boycotts. The Freedom Riders is a good example of this. Malcolm X preferred to promote his message of desegregation with violence. So he was against the march because the march was a peaceful protest of segregation and Jim Crow laws. There was a large crowd present that day, including African Americans, whites, and police officers. Many police officers were called out in Washington, D.C. to make sure that no violence occurred. When they heard that this many people were attending, hundreds of thousands, there was a concern that there was violence. However, that day, no violence was reported during the March on Washington. And this is credited to Martin Luther King Jr.'s followers in support of non-violent protests to promote desegregation and the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and after that, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which ends discriminatory voting practices.